Alright, let's make this super basic phone stand today. As you can see, it has multiple parts. This will show you how to make an assembly. You have the front plate, spacer plate, the stand itself, and a little basket on the end to hold your AirPods. The idea is that you can make this using a bunch of different machines and materials, but to make things easy, I'll just be 3D printing it. For those experienced with CAD, pause the video and try to make the part. At the end of the video, I'll show the actual weight, see how close you can get or how fast you can make it. Anyways, the first step of the assembly is to make this front plate. This is what we're going to make everything else based off of. Also, for the purpose of this video, I made it look like it's wood, but you can use different materials. Alright, so let's start by opening a new file. So, this is how you navigate the menu. As you can see, we're in the Solar Car drive, which houses all of our files. And then on the right side, we have like our workspace. It says untitled right now. You don't have to like open anything. You just start from here. So let's go to our folder and then we'll just start. So these are your create tools. We're going to use Sketch. This is the most basic form of modeling and it's all in 2D. So we're going to make this front plate. Let's put it on the front plane then. So when you create Sketch, you can select a sketch plane. So we're going to be using the front plane for this one. Let's take a rectangle and then click our endpoints. So here we have a totally unconstrained rectangle. You can move it around, but we want to lock this down. So we're going to use the dimension tool. So here you can select dimensions. I have mine set in inches. Let's make this one 1.5 inches and 3 inches. And we'll try to remember this so we could use it in other sketches. Now to get those holes, we can use the circle tool. So just clicking on it just makes a circle, right? We're going to delete this and actually put a line in. So the line is going to help us constrain our circle so we get it in the right spot. There are different ways of doing this, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to do it like this. So you can see these dotted lines, those are construction lines. I pressed X, but you can also click here. Construction lines don't really interfere, they're just there to help you line things up. But these are still moving around. So our length and our width aren't moving around, but these are. So let's give this one a dimension. So I'm going to click this line and this line. And let's say it's 1 inch. Now we're going to do one last line. So these lines snap to different dimensions. So I want to snap it to the middle here. Then I'm going to press X to make this construction. Put a circle right here. And for our circle, we're going to give this a dimension. And let's say like 1/4 inch. That should be good. Now, I don't really want to go through this whole hassle again on the other side. It's not that much to do, but we can use the mirror tool up here. So you select your mirror object. Say I want both of these. I don't really need them. Then I select the line. Then it's just going to put it on the other side. Now we're all done. We can press finish sketch. So this doesn't look exactly like the final product, but I'll show you how to get there. So to make any sketch 3D, you can use extrude, revolve, loft. The other ones you don't really use often. Sweep sometimes, but we're going to use extrude. This is the most basic form of like making your sketches 3D. So here, when you open extrude, you can have different types. So thin extrude will take just the lines. And as you can see here, you can select your thickness. This is useful sometimes, but let's just do a regular extrude. So you click this, you're going to select your profile. So because we closed down the shape, we can highlight it and it'll recognize that it's this full area. And then from here, you can give it a thickness. So let's just say maybe 1/4 inch. That's pretty common. And then now for the final touch, we can make the edges rounded. So you're going to use modify. Modify is like final touches sort of stuff. You can also do some weird uh, operations, multi-body operations. We're not really worried about that. Let's use fillet. So fillet will round out the edge automatically for you. So we turn the square into something nicer. This is commonly used in engineering to make parts stronger and not sharp. So we're going to select all of these edges. Let's just say 1/4 inch. All right, looks good. So the next part we're going to make is a spacer. And this will provide the area to slot your phone in. It's pretty simple, so let's just get right through it. So next we need to make the spacer, but we already have like one body in our part. So parts are made out of bodies, components are bodies, but in an assembly. Eventually we want to put things together and organize them. And to do that, we need to make an assembly, which means this needs to turn into a component. So if we go up here to bodies, in the little drop down menu, we can select this body, right click, and create a component. So this is called the parent component. It has this little anchor. It's not going to move unless we tell it to, and everything is going to build off of this. So let's give it a name as well. Right click, rename. We'll just call it front plate. Now let's make our spacer. So we don't have to do anything. It's going to automatically make a body for the next part. So same as before. Let's go to our front plane here. We're going to make our rectangle. I'm pressing D on my keyboard to make a dimension. You will probably end up doing this a lot because it's way faster. We're going to give this 1.5. This will be 3. And I'll make my reference geometry X on the keyboard. This one over here, X on the keyboard, D for dimension, 1 inch, and then our diagonal here. Oh, also, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but you can kind of see little symbols show up when I'm about to select the first point. So the triangle means a midpoint. We want to select this as our midpoint. That's how we lined it up in the past. And we're going to make this 1/4 inch. We'll mirror it. Finish, extrude, and for this one, I want this to be like a building piece. So let's do 1/8 inch or 0.125. So as you can see, this is not really acting as a spacer because I made it too thick. So to edit and go back on your progress, you can see this thing down here called a timeline. The timeline will have every different action we did. So you can see here, this is our first sketch, this is our extrude, and this is our corner fillet. And then here, this is when we turned it into our first component. So let's go and edit our sketch. We can click on this, right click, edit sketch. And we want to change this to 1 inch. These two are redundant, so we can delete one of them. I'm pressing the delete key on my keyboard, not backspace. There, looks much better. And for the final touch, I press F for fillet. Take our edges, 0.25. Now let's make the backing. This will be a bent piece of metal or 3D printing, depending on your amount of effort. And it looks pretty similar to what we did before, but we're gonna have to take a different approach. All right, so to make this backing, we're gonna wanna create a side view. But first, make sure you create a component out of the body we just made and rename it. And here you can see that this one's actually free to move because it's not grounded. So the anchor means this is the parent. Everything's based off of this one, but this one will actually move around. So to create our sketch, click create sketch, select this, and we're gonna wanna revert the position. So revert position means it'll be like where we originally extruded it from. Capture means that this timeline down here is gonna remember that we moved it out of place, which is not really what we want. So let's just revert position and then start drawing. So to draw the rough outline, I'm going to sketch it using the line tool. So let's do something like this, and we can auto snap this to be perpendicular. Same here. You go down. This means that it's in line with the y-axis or whatever axis you're looking at. And then here we're just gonna make them overlap. So there's multiple ways you could get rid of this. We could use the trim tool here and trim it. We can also just slide this down until it snaps. Same here. Because nothing is constrained at this moment, but we want to constrain it. So let's add some dimensions. We'll do our first dimension, 1 inch. This represents the height of the spacer. And for the backing, this can be anything depending on how big your phone is. Let's just say 4 inches. And then for the thickness, don't want that distance. We want the length. Let's say we're bending 1/8 aluminum sheet or something similar. That's a pretty common number. I'm not sure why it went back. Anyways, things are really messy, but as you can see, as we lock down more dimensions, you can start to like see the shape of the object. So let's do 1/8 down here. And finally, we want to add the angle. So we're going to take these two and we'll do 160 degrees. So that looks pretty natural. Let's finish our sketch. Click extrude and let's make it 3 inches wide to fit everything else. So now we have to add our bolt holes. To add holes onto a face, you can actually create a sketch on a face. So instead of using these planes, we can select this face right here and directly sketch on it. And we'll use like the same sort of constraining tactic as before. I press X. But here you can actually, you can just snap on these objects. So significantly less effort. This is going to be the midpoint. So it'll be 1/4 inch. And we're going to mirror it. So extruding can create objects like so, but you can also use it to cut. So if we simply drag this the other way, now it's in cut mode. So it doesn't really matter how far, since this is just all the way through. So let's just click OK once we drag it. And for the final touch, let's add some fillets on each corner. Stay consistent with our design. Quarter inch. And because this is bent, you actually have a little bend radius right here. So to simulate that, let's just do 0.1. In reality, there's a way to calculate this depending on the material and the angle. But we're not really going to worry about that. And finally, let's create a body, create a component from this body. So the second to last component is this basket. I intended to put some AirPods in here and make it out of wood, but I don't think we'll be covering wood CNC, and this will require a few steps. So feel free to skip this if you really want to, or add something else in its place, but it intends to like stabilize the entire thing and serve as a base. So we're going to use our final plane that we haven't used yet to create this basket, which will be the top plane. And let's just sketch a rough shape. Like before, we're going to constrain this shape. Let's say this is going to be the length. Let's do 2.5. And for the width, it's going to be 3 like before. You can also have it stick out from the sides if you really want. You could put some keys in there or something. It's a little bit of a small basket. And we're going to make a rectangle inside of it. So when we make a rectangle inside of it, it's kind of tricky to get everything even with like this wall thickness. So let's actually not do this. I'm going to use the trim tool. Just erase it. You can also just press delete on your keyboard. And we're going to use the offset tool. So this is super handy for many different things, but making walls is probably its best use. So let's make our walls 1/4 inch, just a nice number. And from here, we can extrude the basic shape. So I'm going to finish the sketch, click extrude. You can also use thin extrude here, but it gets a little messy. And let's make this 1.5 inches tall. So hopefully this won't interact with this angle. If it does, you can make it a little shorter, depending on what angle you chose. But now we don't have a floor. So you can actually go to sketches right here and click the eye icon to see your past sketch. And now we can extrude the floor up. So let's make this 1/4 inch as always. To make this prettier, we're going to fill it. So we'll just do these edges. 1/4 inch. And if we put a fillet here, it's going to be too thin and probably not happy. But we can put one here. 0.25. So let me show you an actual different approach to creating the holes here. So we're going to turn this into a component. We'll name it basket. And now I'll show you how to assemble components. Let's hide the sketch. So every component can move right now freely except for the parent. So we want to put things together with respect to this parent. So to start, we're going to use a joint. So joint is how you put things together. And you can select 2 different points. So let's select this point. And let's select this point. And this will just glue them together. And this is the joint icon for a rigid joint. You can make them move, but it's pretty buggy sometimes. I wouldn't recommend it. But let's just glue things together. So we want everything to line up with these holes. So we're going to press J for joint and select this little outer edge. You can also hold Control to select within a face. So I'm holding Control here, and it's only going to these points on the face. But since we want this edge, let's not worry about that. And we're going to move out and select this edge. So now it's going to glue them together right there. And we're going to press OK. So let's say my phone's a little thick and I actually want this space to be bigger. I can actually modify this component right here. If I press extrude and capture the position, I can actually change what we did in the past. So this is unique to Fusion. Other CAD softwares, it's a little bit trickier. But we're just going to say I have the iPhone Air or something like that. If you have a thicker phone or a big phone case, and you actually intend to use this thing, feel free to make it bigger. Or if you want to use 2 thin sheets, we can copy this spacer by selecting it here, Control C, Control V, and just make another and use a joint. That way we can use the same stock sheet. We're not going to do that though. Let's put our backing onto this assembly using the same through hole. So do that right here, click OK. So I'm intending the base of the phone to kind of like rest like this at a 45-degree angle, 40-degree angle actually. Or is it? Anyways, we're gonna need another spacer here. I'll show you why. So if we select this face, and so So this is half an inch. This is a full inch. That's 0.75. So it's not exactly going to line up, but we can adjust our joint right here. But as you can see, it's intersecting. So we will actually need another spacer. So Control C, Control V, bring it out of the way, press J, put these together. It's close. Let's just ship it. And now to line this one up with this, I'm going to take this bottom middle edge. So on this, you can hold Control and snap to this face and do the same here. So I'm holding Control, snap here, click OK. Not quite. Let's modify our spacer. So when you modify one of a copied object, it'll modify all of them. So let's make this half an inch. So we use 1/8 inch. Let's add another 1/8 inch to it. As you can see, this is now bigger, but the joint isn't updated, which is really annoying. So let's delete this joint and put it back. And now we can add our basket. So sometimes you can use joints in the middle of an assembly, but other times you can do it at the very end. I'll show you the advantage to doing it in the middle. So the last thing we need to do is add holes to this and create a rod or some sort of pin, some sort of bolt that goes through the whole thing. So what we can do is click extrude and grab this sketch right here, this face. So to do that, let's go to our original sketch. We're going to click the eye icon. I'm going to grab these two holes to extrude. And what we're going to do is we're going to extrude it all the way through. This will actually affect the basket. We could have done this from the start, but that'd be too easy. And then now to make a rod, could do a similar thing. But since I'll be 3D printing this and add some sort of gap, I'm going to actually make this 0.24. And then also I don't have to do like all of the construction lines. I can just select this circle and it'll snap to it. So let's do 0.24 for our rod. And then we'll do 0.5 for the top. And this will be like the head of the nut if you're using bolts. I'm going to press E and extrude this one. So before we've just been kind of dragging or adding a dimension. But what you can actually do is click extent type to object and select the back here. So this is going to bring our rod all the way through. And as you can see, there's a little gap right here. 0.1 is like a press fit for 3D printing. Just in case you ever want to refer to that, it works pretty well. We're going to show this sketch and then get the top. So let's make the top 1/8. I might have selected the wrong sketch. So here there's actually a gap. To avoid that, we can select this sketch or just make a new one. Because this one has actually 3 volumes right here. We can actually select just them individually. And there you go. So this is our last body. We're going to make this into a component. Just make it pin. Control C, Control V. And to joint this, let's take this little edge right here and select this. And that is it.